Welcome to Joint Effort PAs, where two orthopedic surgery PAs get real about life in medicine. From tips and tricks to professional growth, work-life balance, and everything in between. We're here to share what we've learned and what we're still figuring out. Let's get into it. So for this week, we are going to get into the weeds of what a PA is, kind of what the PA-patient relationship is all about and how you navigate that, and building trust and rapport with patients, and then a little bit about the PA-doctor relationship. I'll just say doctor instead of says PA-MD and DO, so including both.
Definitely. So we're going to get real just about our experience with getting into this profession. If I'm being totally honest, I didn't really know what a PA was until I wanted to be one. So for me, trying to be a provider that was not necessarily a physician, but also something that was a little bit more than a nurse kind of sparked my interest. But I'm assuming, maybe I'm taking this for granted, but I'm assuming our providers know what a PA is. But Hannah, what about in your own words?
In my own words, what I think a PA is, or how I would explain it.
I mean, at this time, what a PA is. Hopefully not what you think.
I think I know what a PA is for myself. So I think that, for me, the biggest thing is patients don't understand really what a PA is. Sometimes I think it's getting better. It's getting a lot more well known, especially because a lot of patients see PAs as their primary care provider. Yes. So they build a lot of trust in seeing a PA and specialties through that. But just a quick cap on brief history, the PA profession was actually started to fill a gap in primary care shortages. And I can't remember the year off the top of my head, or
1965,
Eugene,
my friend.
What was his last name?
Eugene Stead.
Stead, yes.
That was a board question that I got wrong. So
okay.
I wasn't ready for that on my boards, but now I know.
Yeah.
But 1965, Eugene Stead at Duke University established the first PA program. And PAs are in multiple facets of medicine, including for us, orthopedics, but also primary care. If you, Hannah, were to go out with your non-PA friends and they were like, what's a PA? What would you say?
So I would basically tell them what my day-to-day life entailed, because I feel like that's the easiest way of explaining it to people. If I was just purely to tell them, a PA is somebody who is a medical provider, I can prescribe, treat, see patients, recommend things, do minor procedures on my own. It just doesn't quite encompass. I feel like no matter how I explain it to people, whenever I am with somebody who, and this is why it's easier to maintain friendships with people who are at work, but people just don't get it unless they are in the day in the life with you.
Yes.
I feel like I need to describe to them my day to day, everything I do.
Yes. But I think, in 1965 here, I think, again, for the little bit of background, so many returning World War II and Vietnam vets came back with extensive medical training, and then the world didn't know what to do with them. So a PA, again, is a provider that's essentially an extension of the physician, trained in the same medical model as opposed to in a nursing model, and was intended to be used in primary care, but again, you'll see PAs in every facet of medicine. So I try to avoid the word mid-level provider, or in an email this week, non-physician provider. I hate that one even more.
Yeah.
That one
that
really
probably doesn't
gets
make
me.
people feel good.
No, there's no good feelings with that. I have no good feelings.
Or even patients probably don't feel good about that.
So how do you explain yourself to a patient that says, oh, you're the PA? Because they will say to me, and to you probably, oh, you mean you're not the doctor? So that insinuates I have a drop in my level of care.
Right.
And also I assume you'll do your thing and then send the doctor in.
Right.
So how do you explain yourself?
Yeah, that I'm not some other type of role. Basically, when I explain it to patients, I say that, I work with this provider, and we work as a team in diagnosing and treating patients. So, I'm very experienced in seeing the types of things that you're coming in for and treating them. And, I have a lot of experience in doing XYZ procedure for this. If there's any question or any uncertainty on my part, then then we consult together about it. So explaining to them that this is a role where I work independently from the doctor, but also together,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah. And I think if you set the precedence and you can identify and give yourself a home in their brain for the patient, they're kind of like, oh, okay. As long as, that relief that they're like, oh, as long as you are talking to the surgeon, like that's cool. So in orthopedic surgery, at least my schedule, and I think Hannah, yours mirrors this a little bit, is that in order for, in our case, a private practice, for an orthopedic surgeon to be busy, successful, see the patients, operate on the patients, and follow up with the patients, my doc operates 3 days a week. So he will see patients 2 days a week, 40 patients. That's 80 patients. In an ideal setting, he's seeing 80 potential new patients. Some of them are surgical, some of them are not, but he's not doing the post-op care, the follow-up care. So that's where we come in. So I will do the post-op care, the follow-up care, carry out the treatment plan essentially designed by the surgeon, but acting independently, yes, for my own judgment, but also collaborating extensively. So I will explain to the patient, I work with the physician. Anything that we decide that is a change is essentially a collaborative plan. So I think once they get that, then they're okay. And then I leave the room and then they ask to see the nurse again. So what's that about?
Yeah. You're definitely, if you are a female physician assistant, you are a nurse. And if you are a male physician assistant, a lot of the times you're a doctor.
You are
I don't
a
know.
doctor. Yes.
Get into that. But it can be an annoying little thing when it happens.
I think in the beginning, like navigating your job in the beginning when you're coming into this with less confidence, just based on being new in the career, they'll doubt it more. So I think, again, knowing where you are in your career and where I'm in my career, there's a little bit more confidence with these patient interactions. But you will have. And for me, it's the demographic of 75-plus-year-old females and 45-year-old females that really want to see the doctor. Like they're in their brain is a distinction between I will not see the PA or I don't want to see the PA. So do you have any patients that either are on your schedule or will be on your schedule that will say, I'm not going to see the PA. I refuse to see the PA?
I mean, honestly, I feel fortunate pretty rarely, but there are. And I'm totally fine with that. I feel like our schedule and the way that our clinics work is pretty similar with the OR clinic split and the types of patients we see, where I am seeing a lot of the post-op visits, but we do also share in that. So I feel like both me and my physician see some post-ops, new patients, follow-up visits. I would say I probably see more of the post-ops, obviously, because that's just what makes the most sense. But we do have a pretty even split of things. So we have some patients that prefer to see the physician. And I mean, that's fine. I'm at a point in my life where that doesn't hurt my feelings. And by the same token, I have some people who prefer to see me. So that's fine.
I think, what do you think is the main difference? And again, might be personality, it might be situational, but what do you think is the main difference in the way care is provided between yourself and a physician?
So the way I explain this to new PAs all the time, or PA students, you are automatically going into this situation at a disadvantage. You are going to have to prove yourself so much harder because of your title. So you are going to have to be more confident, more competent. Yeah. You are going to have to spend more time with them and have a perfect personality and vibe and personality match the patient. You're going to have to put on a whole show to get
is
there.
100% true. So I think when the physician comes in the room, there is a general understanding that they already know what they're talking about. They went to med school, they did their fellowship, they come in the room and I'm like, all right, I'm going to let you talk if I were the patient. When the PA comes in the room, you're already at a disadvantage. You have to prove in that short period of time, 1, the patient's history up, down, left, and right. 2, you know what you're doing. 3, you are confident with what you're doing. And 4, you really have to connect with that patient, so much so that they leave that room with trust in their care and in you. So, is exhausting the word? Is that?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's theatrical almost. Now, I mean, I enjoy building those connections, and I enjoy, you know, talking to people about their non-medical stuff too. And but it is a lot more that I feel like you have to hoops to jump through in order to get to the same point. You can't just go in with, you know, your medical knowledge and plan and expect them to be just as happy as if they had that coming from the physician.
Yeah.
Like you have to do extra.
Yes, 100%. So I think, you know, for any current PA, any potential PA listening like that, that is just something I think that is essential to being a successful PA. Now, again, once you have the patient population and you have established patients, you know, your reputation really does speak for itself, but there is more heavy lifting up front, and not in a bad way. Like, I think it's challenging, and especially if I have someone who the medical assistant's like, "Ooh, they didn't know they were seeing the PA today." Like, that also is like, all right, here we go.
I want to win them over.
I'm gonna win
Yeah.
this thing.
They are gonna
They're
love
gonna
PAs.
love me. They're gonna request me every time. So that's, I mean, that we do that all day, every day.
Getting a 5-star review from those patients, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's everything.
$150,000 I spent to go to school is worth it.
It's everything.
So I think this also plays into like the trust factor. Do you find that like explaining to patients, especially post-op patients, that you were in during their surgery, like that you assist during the surgeries too? I feel like that is huge
Yes.
in building trust and rapport with them. Like
Yes.
the number of interactions I have where like I'm explaining something from during their surgery
Yes.
and they're like, "Oh, you were there?"
Yeah.
And automatically like the whole vibe changes. They trust everything now.
So yeah, and that's really important thing, because I want to go in the room and kind of explain to the patient all the technical things. Like, listen, I know what this is. I was there. Here's your MRI. Let's do that. But what gains more of their listening is the fact that I was like, I was there. And I'm like, wait, you were there with me? And then that's more powerful than what I would think, which is my anatomical spiel of what's going on with their shoulder. Like, I think they want that team that takes care of them and know that every time they come in, they've got someone dedicated to them. So I think the insinuation is that it's the surgeon, and it's not that it's not, because it is, but they also have this other person that is very involved with their care. So yes, I think it's very important to mention that you were there, and that hooks them.
Yeah, it really does. They like that.
Yeah. They like that. I think another really big thing about working the profession we do is the PA doctor relationship. So, depending on what specialty you're in, and again, even at our practice, we have physician assistants that work in what we call our urgent care or injury express. So these are providers that work independently. They can consult with the physicians, but they're not in the same model that clinic PAs are. Like, they're not taking care of the same patients from a surgical setting. So like, that physician assistant doesn't necessarily have a close MD relationship, right?
Or DO.
Yeah. So, or supervising physician. So in a clinic setting, that's a completely different job. And that's both what Hannah and I both do. But finding the perfect MD relationship is 50% of the battle. Like, I really think if you are carrying out treatment plans for a physician that, one, you think's a total D-bag, two, you don't agree with that, that's really hard.
Just having to work with them 4 to 5 days a week. I mean, that would be hard.
Stay next to them. That's really, I wouldn't know about that.
I mean, goodness.
But and again, you did work in urgent care, and then you came over to the clinic side. So what do you think kind of makes that relationship, or what has been your experience in navigating that?
So from an urgent care perspective, like that was initially where I started out. So you're working mostly independently. Like, obviously you have the backing of the physicians and people to ask questions. And you kind of have like a casual relationship with, in our specific practice, all of them, yeah. Because you're going to be encountering patients that either you want to send to them, or some of their patients who are coming in for follow-up or post-op care. So you have to, be in communication with them. But it is definitely very different. And I think, ironically, when I came in, I don't know if you recall or not, but I was very content with being in the urgent care role, like permanently. I was like, this is a great job. This is what I've wanted to do my entire life. Just keep me here forever. Except if a surgical role opens
Yes.
on this specific team, that is what I would be interested in, only that. And at the time, I did not think that was a possibility, but here we are.
Yeah.
So,
But
I specifically asked about that.
But I think though, one, you were demonstrating skills that are very attractive to a clinical MD, meaning, you know, the way that PAs can provide care is you can provide care super cautiously and very conservatively, and that there's a role for that. But the next step of like analytical, and when I see this patient, what happens after that? Like you very much wanted to know, well, if I send them here, what did they have surgery? How did that go? Were there any complications? Like that's how your brain works. So I believe, yes, you sought more, but I think you were sought after as well.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of our urgent care PAs is they will demonstrate qualities that surgeons find very attractive.
Yeah, you have a drive for certain things.
Yes.
You're doing extra.
Yeah,
doing the extra things.
Yeah.
How did you find that? Because I'm interested now. Like, what was your journey with it? Because you came in when you got hired. Were you doing just urgent care, or like was your role already set?
This is a funny story. It's a story. I don't know if it's a funny story, but so I was in Connecticut for 8 years before I'm in my current role, and I was doing in emergency medicine rotation. Now, in emergency medicine, I don't know the statistic, but in my experience, 50% ortho, like whether it's a laceration or something, somebody broke something. So I was working with a PA who moonlighted in the ER, but actually was working as an orthopedic PA. So when we had an orthopedic surgeon do consults, I met an orthopedic surgeon that way. And he at the time was in, I guess, mid to later part of his career. And he was just like, do you want a job? And I was like, yes, I do. So I followed him in clinic. And at the time, it was before EMR stuff, everything was paper. And he had, no joke, 60 charts stacked high. And I said, well, what are you looking for? And he was like, I need help with these, and just put his hand on the stack. And I was like, I can do that for you. So we navigated that role because he never had a PA before. We navigated that role together. So I first started collaboratively. Well, no, I first started learning underneath what he did, how he liked certain things. Then it turned into collaboration. Then it turned into building together. And that was the dream. It was, he like took me out of school, taught me everything that I know, trusted me, helped me grow. And then I moved. So it is sad. It is. This is like old Yeller sad. So I moved. And then when I came down here to North Carolina, I was looking for that. So unicorn, yes. But I was looking for that. Like I wanted that dream relationship here. And again, biggest fear, will that exist? Right. So when I was hired here, the only opening was in urgent care, which I was kind of like, okay, like I did sports medicine for 8 years. Like I could learn a little more urgent care. So I was like, fine, but I don't want that for real. So when I was interviewed by the at the time, the current sports med PA. And she was just like, oh, I mean, this role is open. It's urgent care. It's a little OR. And she's like, is that what you want? And I was like, I want your job. Like when I said that, I was like,
can I be you
I
instead?
want your job. And she was like, oh, okay. I mean, like we like to have people grow. And I was like, no, that's fine. But like I will. So I did urgent care and then I did a little OR. And then from there, they're like, ooh, how about you do some clinic? So I kind of morphed like that way. But I ended up working currently now with this sports med surgeon who's very similar to the one that I used to work for. But at the point I was in my career, I didn't need as much nurturing. So it really was perfect timing for, hey, here's a ton of responsibility and it sounds like you can handle that. And I was like, okay, let's go. And that's kind of how my role came about.
Yeah.
And I did get her job.
That
was circumstantial. That was circumstantial. That wasn't aggressive. That was just like, it just happened.
Not at all. But sometimes you have to like manifest these things into existence. That's what I feel like I did, because my last clinical rotation that you had me on when I was in PA school was with the surgeon that I'm with now.
We blueprinted this exact move. We were like,
in my mind, I was like, this is going to happen and I'm going to make it happen. And then like it was a very slow process, but I don't know, I like masterminded my way into it, or
But
everybody else kind of
you,
assisted in that. Yeah.
yes, you did. And Hannah specifically, and again, this is the whole PA world. Like if I could tell any incoming PA what you have to do, like what's the most important piece of advice, do more, do extra. Do all the extra things. And that was Hannah. So Hannah worked her job. She worked in urgent care. She was very happy. But Hannah on the back end was helping with surgeries. And this was not like, oh, hey, supervisor, can I get paid for that? Like I'm doing extra. Hannah just
No,
did
I
it because
did it for
Hannah,
free.
she did. No, Hannah did it because that was how she demonstrated herself. So we went through the whole thing with you. And I was like, trust me, this is how this is going to go. And you are the front runner for this. And she was like, yes,
Yeah,
yes, I
it's
am.
going to
And
happen.
here we are.
Yeah. I feel like we're both right now in the same place where growth is a huge thing and both have like a grind growth mindset.
Yes.
And so that's powering me through the long weeks right now.
Yeah. So you though, and again, important to mention, you are working with a physician that is relatively new out of school. When I say new, this is not inexperienced, but like within 5 years, he's in private practice. So he right now is idea guy and do this. And Hannah is like, I'm in, like
Yeah.
riding the coattails, doing it together. So that's been fun to watch. So you guys, you and your surgeon you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Dream team.
Dream team. So, let's say you ended up coming to the practice and you're happy in urgent care, and then I move you over to this physician relationship. Like you're lucky, I'm lucky that we're in, good relationships, but how would you know if it wasn't right?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I would know immediately, but maybe not. I feel like I've set the bar really high
Yeah.
at this point. So that would be tough. But I see people who have these very like disconnected relationships, or I have some colleagues and classmates from school who just had very different experiences. And I'm like, how are you thriving in that role? Either they really just don't get to practice to like the top of their abilities. They're not doing very much because of that. Or they just don't have the communication. And in my mind, like that's super important from a patient care perspective too, because if you don't have that great relationship and that great communication, like patient care is not going to be as great in my opinion.
Yeah. But even important to mention too, that you PAs can do the extent of what they can do based upon what their physicians are comfortable with and their current
right.
Level of practice. So you could have entered this relationship and just, I don't feel comfortable and just coasted. So, the word PA and I have fellow PAs I went to school with, not all PAs are created equal. So you can push and do as much as you want, or you can coast. So like, I think that dynamic of what you bring to the relationship is really important. But same thing with the physician. If the physician is a control freak, and I worked with a foot and ankle surgeon when I was in Connecticut, where she was like, yes, go in, see the patient, manage, and let me know. And I would. And then she'd be like, and now I'm going to. And I was like, no.
And I'm going to do something different.
No. And then, so I would do all the work, tee up the patient. And then I would say, all right, the physician's going to be in just to say hi. And then the physician would come in and redo everything. And that was infuriating. And I don't know if that was a control issue or that's just how, this is a female surgeon, how she practiced medicine. But that for me, no good. And I did that. I was at foot and ankle like 1 day a week. And I hated that because it felt counterproductive. Like, it makes, when the physician comes in and then redoes, it makes it appear to the patient that was like a practice runner that they don't trust. So that for me is really important, that I can work independently, understanding that there is conversation and collaboration on the background. But that I think is important. The physician allowing you to do, but I think you have to bring to the table enough know-how to show them like, I got this.
You have to prove that you are worthy of being trusted.
Yes.
So, and I mean, both roles and types of PAs, like I wouldn't say one's worse than the other because people have different goals, like from a career standpoint with this. I know some people went into the profession because they wanted a very different type of role where they were very independent from, working with a physician and maybe they had their, 9 to 3 job and they didn't have to do any like significant growth or extra things. And, that's fine.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants the same type of role, but I don't know.
So do you have anything in your current relationship that you are lacking in your MD PA relationship? Is there anything that you're like, man, I really wish I could do this, or this?
Man, I don't know. I wonder if he's going to listen to this. Oh, my yearly review's coming up soon. So
It is.
I think for me, I am young enough in my career that my mindset is just growth and do more.
Mhm.
There's obviously a cap to that. But I think just the more that I am able to practice to my max,
Yeah.
that I don't like to get stagnant. I'll
Yeah.
get bored. I get bored very easily, hence why we're doing this podcast and all of my Instagram ventures and, the other 20 projects that I have pending in my life right now.
Yes.
So more is better most of the time.
Most of the time. More is more.
Yeah.
Actually.
It is
every
more.
sense
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
That phrase.
But no, I really think that for me personally, I won't call this my first job out of school because it's somewhat of a second.
Yeah.
But it is a really, really good role for me personally. And actually, when I have started and was moving into a surgical role, I think there was I know there was talk of I was going to potentially do spine.
Yeah.
And I think you also have to know what specialty you're most passionate about. Like for me, I was like, I'm not going to thrive doing, OLIFs and stuff back to back, like the same thing every single day. I don't want to work on a joints team where I'm doing the same 2 surgeries. I mean, no hate to anybody who loves that because with hand surgeries, there's just so much variety in the day to day, and I love that. I love the different types of procedures that I do in the office. There's certain specialties you're not getting to do in office procedures as much. And I think for sports, it's somewhat similar. So, how about you? If you could change one thing.
So I am at a point in my career where, again, the first surgeon I worked with, I worked with him for 8 years and it got very comfortable. And I honestly would not have changed. And again, I say that because him and I developed a great relationship. He essentially, took me in as though I was the daughter that he already had 2, but the third daughter he never had. But I would not have changed anything from that perspective. But making the move, again, which had nothing to do with the job, but making the move allowed me to grow, to do more things and kind of push my boundaries. So I work with a physician who does that on the daily. Like he is idea guy left and right, wanting to do new things. Hey, did you read this? Hey, did you read that? So if I could change one thing, and again, this is maybe that I'm not there in my career, is that I would do that more collaboratively because, a personal note, like I'm married, I have 3 kids. My kids are all teenagers. Like things are insane in my life right now. Like I don't have the time and bandwidth to dive all into innovation. Like I'm there, don't get me wrong. And if there's a great idea, I'm like, let me learn everything about that. But I'm not at that point right now where I can be boom, 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 idea, idea, idea. So I think if I could change one thing, it would be just having that ability to be part of that process. But I think it's a little bit self-limiting. And I don't like to talk about weaknesses because this is not one of them, but I think it's a circumstantial thing right now. So that right now would be the one thing I can change. But I see patients independently. I have I'm a senior PA on my team. I have another PA. I manage all the other PAs. So I definitely have my hands in overall process at the company I work at. And I like that. Like I like where I'm at right now. Is my plate full? Yes. Is it overflowing?
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was going to say, your little plug about all the other things you have going on in your life. Like for somebody who has all of those things going on, you do more extra things than people who don't have those other things going on.
Yes.
So
yes,
just throwing that out there.
Well, I'll tell you, very smart man, aka the doc I work for right now, told me if you want to be the best at what you do, you have to always work 25% harder, like all the time. And I agree with that, but my 25% it's a larger percentage than that, Hannah.
Yeah, it is.
Or at least it feels
50.
like that. It feels like that. But no, I think being in the current clinical relationship I have, there's mutual respect, there's mutual trust, and there's collaboration. Like and you are too, at the point where for input for certain things, how you manage a patient, instead of just taking directives, which again, at one point in my career, I was not able to be as involved with patient care. I'm sorry, with patient care plans, but at this point, it feels very collaborative. And I really like that. Like that makes me feel at the end of the day very, very
Yeah.
satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like that. And I mean, kind of wrapping it all up, going back to the original points, having that type of relationship where you're very collaborative and there's that trust built in, that also is really, really helpful for the patient PA relationship too.
100%. Yes.
And going back to like educating people who maybe prefer to see the doctor, like we have a great relationship where we do that. If somebody prefers to see the doctor, I'm not offended. He's going to see them if he can.
So, and I will say to the patient, because I will ask, and what we do on our team right now is if the doctor sees a patient and he'll say, hey, go do that injection, I'll come in there and I'll say, hey, my name is Beth. I'm the PA with the doc. Do you mind if I do the injection? And the patient sometimes will say, and I know what they're thinking. And I'm like, listen, this is your care team. Like you're in control.
You choose, yeah.
You tell me. Zero emotion with it. Like I'm A-okay with that. And if they want to at some point, allow me to be part of that plan, great.
Yeah.
But I very much don't get any offense from that at all. And again, it is all about the patient's comfort level and their care. So,
and I know you probably also have some patients that you see first or initially, and like you're signing them up for surgery and you're the only person they're seeing before surgery. Yeah. Like that is also a weird kind of dynamic to navigate. Yeah. And then are you also like, do you guys ever go see a patient together, both of you at the same time? And then that I think is very helpful for building an initial relationship. Like you start off together and then the next time when they see just you, it's a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. So I think if I'm seeing a patient and specifically if it's, someone that we're potentially signing up for surgery, like I will have the doc, come in, and whether that's a full eval or just a, hey, I heard all about you. I look forward to treating you. Like just even that FaceTime to show the united front to the patient.
Right.
I think that's important too.
Yeah. And sometimes in a trauma situation, it doesn't get to happen like that. But I almost I prefer it and like demand it sometimes, almost like in certain situations. Yeah. Someone's like, oh, I really don't mind. I don't care. I'm like, no, you should probably
just see the doctor.
Yeah. Let's all be on the same page with each other here. So
yeah. And again, that demographic, like I think there's a cultural and then there's also age related. I think some people don't understand PAs enough to know that, they work that close with the doc. So they will say like, I just want to physically meet the doc before surgery. Perfect. No problem. Yeah. I would also too, but also maybe sometimes not. It depends on your comfort level.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say to like new graduating PAs as far as like, how do you go about finding this perfect dream job, dream relationship, dream situation?
So I'm going to talk on experience because I currently interview and hire PAs. And I think when PAs come into, like, let's say I'm hiring right now for orthopedic surgery, or I'm hiring right now for urgent care, the idea of what an orthopedic PA is and does is different than reality. I'm sorry, it just is. Like, there's no way that when you're in PA school or during your rotations, you understand what that is. You get a snapshot, but you don't understand. So I encourage new grads, if you like something in a field, so let's say it's orthopedics, and maybe you want to do sports, maybe you have no idea, just take a chance. I think it's very important. I have a current PA that works on our spine team, and she's great. She came in, she did what I did. She came into urgent care, and I was like, hey, this is what we have. And she's like, I don't want to be there forever. Like, I want to be on a surgical team, ideally sports or joints. Perfect. What opened up first was spine. And she was like, oh, which I would be too, honestly. But she took it. I said, listen, take a chance, get into that clinic side, get into a surgical role. You're not marrying the job. Like you will get experience. You will not be worse off for that. So I think just take the chance. Like don't limit your search to, I must be a hand surgeon PA. If you are a total joint PA, it's ortho. You get into a practice. And the good thing about being a PA is there's lateral movement. Like you can move into hand, or you can do spine, or you can do OBGYN. Why? I don't know, but you could. But I think don't limit yourself. Take a chance and make a list of what's important to you. If it's hours, if it's location, if it's relationship, if it's patient population, make that list and, make sure that you hit those things, but try it out. No experience is bad experience.
Yeah. And give it a good chance too.
Yes.
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 You gotta give it time.
That is true.
Let these things have time to develop, because I see a lot of people in new roles that get very frustrated with like, oh, I don't know all of the things yet. Like I feel like I need to understand everything and be perfect initially, and that just doesn't happen. That is growth over time.
And I will tell these new providers, these new PAs that come in, like, oh, like, when am I going to be comfortable? I feel like I'm always asking questions. I'm like, if you stop asking questions, I'm going to have questions.
Yeah,
like, it will take
concerning.
You 3 years to kind of feel comfortable, but it's way longer than that. Like, it just is. So
yeah, love that. Okay. Well,
I think we beat that up.
Yeah.
Join us next week as we will talk. Who knows?
What are we going to talk about next week?
I really want to do the weekly recap. I really want to do that.
Just like a week in the life, a day in the life kind of thing.
Yes.
I think that is ideal. And then we have a whole list of some ideal guests we want to bring on. From nurses in our office to CRNAs and athletic trainers, surgical techs. Yeah. So hopefully, and physicians as well that are super excited. Some of them are very eager.
Yes. So we will certainly be back next week.
All right. See you guys then.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Joint Effort PAs. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow PA or med-minded friend. You can also follow us on Instagram at Joint Effort PAs for updates and extra content. See you next time.